Hey there, guys. Welcome to the channel. So, Republican Representative Chip Roy really expressed to Attorney General Merrick Garland just a tiny little piece of how most Americans really are starting to feel. I mean, the man did a great job during Garland's recent House hearing, which I'm sure you guys have seen a lot of. We've done a lot of on this channel. But here's what I love about these hearings. We actually get to see not what these Republican representatives say in response to loaded legacy media questions, and not what their own press teams put together, but we really get to see how they operate, how they question the people that really are destroying our country, and a little window into really how they think. So Chip Roy, he made Garland's talk more about Trump cases, more about the Hunter Biden scenario, and what anyone who is actually paying real attention sees as unfair targeting of Catholics, of parents who dare care what is being taught in their kids' schools. You know, Roy just wants to finally get to the bottom of the DOJ, their letter painting parents as domestic terrorists. And even more important, when should we expect an apology or some accountability from the man who's actually in charge of it all? Take a look at this.
Thank the Attorney General for being here before us today. On October 21st, 2021, before this committee, I asked you about Mr. Scott Smith, a father in Loudoun County, Virginia, who was arrested at a school board meeting where he questioned the rape of his daughter in a bathroom in the public school there. You said at the time you were unfamiliar with the case. Are you now? Yes or no?
I'm only familiar to the extent I've read about it in the press.
You sent a memo on October 4th, 2021, directing the FBI and U.S. attorney offices to address, quote, harassment, end quote, of school boards. Yes or no?
Sent a memo to address violence and threats of violence in connection with school personnel.
Directed at school boards.
Not directed at school boards, directed at school personnel, school administrators.
Throughout the country as a priority for the federal government, for the United States Attorney's Office. That followed a letter on September 29th, 2021 from the National School Board Association to President Biden and emails from the National School Board Association Director Chip Slavin to the White House in which the White House asked for specific threats. And one of the examples was Scott Smith. Subsequent to our hearing 2 years ago, 26 states left the National School Board Association, and Slavin resigned on November 23rd of 2021. Last week, Mr. Smith was pardoned by Governor Youngkin. Do you think the governor was correct, yes or no?
Pardon authority belongs to the governor.
You don't have an opinion on whether the governor was correct?
I don't know the facts of the case, so I'm not in a position to make...
Have you rescinded the memo that you issued in 2021, yes or no?
What we're discussing...
Have you rescinded the memo, yes or no?
What we're discussing here occurred...
Does the memo still exist? Is it still going, yes or no? Has it been rescinded?
The memo was intended to have meetings within 30 days.
Has it been rescinded?
The 30 days have finished. Nothing has happened in more than a year and a half with respect to that
memo. But it has not been rescinded. It has not been pulled back.
To rescind.
Despite evidence that has come out from the National School Board Association, commissioned report that White House officials discussed this with DOJ more than a week before the letter was sent, the NSBA apologized. Have you apologized? Yes or no?
I've testified 7 times since that original memo.
Well, it's the first time you're back here since we talked about it.
I'm sorry?
It's the first time you're back here in front of us. Have you apologized for putting that memo out that implicated Scott Smith as a domestic terrorist, something the governor of Virginia has now pardoned him from all of these accusations?
The memo said nothing about him, nothing about parents being terrorists, nothing about attending school boards.
So the answer is it's not been rescinded and you haven't apologized for it.
The answer is that's not
labeling an American citizen a domestic terrorist in a memo and referring to it and a memo that's built on the back of that. But now we had this compliments being driven to the Civil Rights Division. Let's talk about Mark Houck in Pennsylvania, a father who was arrested with heavily armed federal and local law enforcement in front of his wife and children. This after Mark Houck's lawyers had said he would appear voluntarily. Local authorities investigated, found no case. Mark Houck was arrested by the FBI for FACE Act violations. The jury met for an hour. Houck was acquitted. Now, when I was in federal court, I don't remember that being my result very often. In fact, I don't remember happening at all, where we took it to a jury and was acquitted after an hour. Did you investigate this or question the United States attorney why they wasted resources for such an obvious result? And can you explain, yes or no, that that was a good use of the Department of Justice's authority?
The Justice Department respects the jury's verdict. The decisions in that case were made by agents and prosecutors on the ground.
Are you concerned that enforcement of the FACE Act has been biased towards pro-lifers over anti-life protesters, 126-4 by our count? And we're asking information to be able to track down the information of such prosecutions, but 126 times against pro-lifers versus 4 times for people who dare to question the issue of life. I'll leave that out there just to say that is the Civil Rights Division at play. Meanwhile, we've got the very liberal progressive groups being targeted as well. Senator Cruz and I sent a letter to you asking for information about how the FBI informant had gone to a liberal group's pro-life meeting, and yet we didn't get any response from you. So I'd ask if you would respond to our letter that we sent back in March asking about FBI infiltrating such a meeting.
I don't know what you're referring to, but I will ask the Office of Legislative Affairs to look into this letter.
Thank you. Finally, our tax cases require approval by Maine Justice no matter what district has venue? Yes or no? Do tax cases as a general matter require approval by Maine Justice no matter what district has venue? Yes or no?
It depends on the circumstances in the example that I know you're referring to.
Generally speaking, yes. Since Maine Justice runs tax division, yes or no? Maine Justice runs the tax division.
In the Hunter Biden case, I assured Mr. Weiss that
that's not what I'm asking about. I didn't ask. I haven't mentioned that guy's name. I didn't. I very simply asked a very simple question. Okay. Do tax cases require approval by Maine Justice as a general matter?
Most of the time, but not when the Attorney General has granted authority to a U.S. attorney to do what he thinks is best.
And in a turf battle, a tax division
Mr. Chairman, point of order.
I mean, I recall my colleague in Texas having a minute and a half of additional time.
Gentlemen. So yeah, man, there is no excuse. And, of course, the guy hasn't apologized. And he will never apologize. Nothing will ever make him do it, which tells us everything we need to know about this guy. And I mean, come on. Imagine labeling concerned parents as domestic freaking terrorists. Just having the audacity to even put that in a memo. Even think it. Even say it out loud. The Justice Department, led by Garland, they've turned the American justice system into a complete and total joke. And man, I know I say this almost every time I say his name. And look, I am no Mitch McConnell fan, but thank God that Mitch stood up and stopped Barack Obama for giving this guy a lifetime appointment to the Supreme Court. Anytime anyone that tries to weaponize that fact, talk about lack of decorum there, whatever it was, just remind him of who this guy really is and the mess that we dodged with that. But anyway, that's just my take, guys. Let me know yours in the comments. If you haven't already, please make sure to like, comment, subscribe. Most importantly, share the channel. We'll see you in the next one.